This is a bitch, bro. I don't give a f what none of y'all saying.
Trippie Redd just hit play and dropped a cold, no warning clip of 6ix9ine sitting in jail, and the timing was wild. He didn't hype it up, didn't explain it, just let it run while saying, "I don't support bullies like that," alone told a bigger story. The internet snapped instantly, feeds blowing up nonstop with people thinking it was just another messy troll move at first. But then one creepy detail in the video had viewers rewinding it again and again, trying to catch what they missed. That's when the tone shifted fast and things got real dark. The footage lined up way too clean with what was already happening behind the scenes.
When I meet Trippie Red, right, I take a flight to do an Adam 22 interview, right? I met him in New York. I told him I needed an interview. He probably like, yo, who's this underground rapper trying to get an interview with me, right?
Yeah, he did your first interview, right?
That didn't answer my call, but thank God he didn't answer my call, right?
On January 6th, 2026, Daniel Hernandez, the rapper everybody knows as Tekashi 6ix9ine, turned himself into federal custody at MDC Brooklyn. He went in to serve a 3-month sentence after violating his supervised release, tied directly to his 2019 racketeering case, and the timing raised serious eyebrows. And nah, that surrender wasn't low-key at all, not even close. 6ix9ine literally live-streamed the whole moment with streamer Aiden Ross right there, playing Akon locked up as federal agents pulled up to take him in. The energy felt staged, loud, and extra, like he wanted the cameras rolling no matter what. That footage spread across social media crazy fast, like hours fast, and everybody was locked in watching him right before it went down. In his last moments before getting booked, cameras surrounded him while he cracked jokes about the kind of high-profile people he might run into inside.
So Andrew, who's Tribe Drew, said, yo, bro, you should do a song with this kid. He's hot on Soundcloud.
Yeah.
So I hit him up on Instagram. He's like, yo, I'm actually a big fan of you. Let's meet up. I really didn't want to do a song with him because I didn't like the Andrew liked the, you know what I mean?
He even joked about possibly bunking near names like Nicolas Maduro and Luigi Mangione, saying it like it was all part of a show. The whole scene felt performative, pure attention chasing, clout till the very end. But even with all that acting, the weight of the situation started hitting different and you could feel the mood shift. This wasn't 6ix9ine's first time touching down at MDC Brooklyn, not by a long shot. He'd already been held there during his federal racketeering case back in 2018 and 2019, so the place wasn't new to him at all. But this return hit different, because this time it wasn't about a fresh case, it was about a non-stop pattern of slipping up. Judge Paul Engelmeyer laid it out plain, saying 6ix9ine kept repeatedly blowing it, even after the court showed him serious patience and leniency. All the violations were logged, documented, and sitting right there on record. In October 2024, 6ix9ine got detained in New York after failing drug tests, testing positive for meth and Adderall, on top of unauthorized trips to Las Vegas and the Dominican Republic. He didn't even report an overseas arrest to his probation officer, which made things worse. Authorities held him for a full 2 weeks, and that alone raised alarms.
And when we do the song, the next day, he's like, yo, let's shoot the video. So I'm like, I ain't got no money, like, you know what I mean? But I ain't tell him that, you know what I mean? My team know I ain't got no money. I say, all right, bro, you gotta pay for everything. He's like, all right, I got it. So he takes us to the desert. He pays like $200 for the ATV excursion. Remember in the desert?
Yeah. Right.
We tell the dude, yo, we gonna shoot a video real quick. We shot the video. And then when the video goes up, they start going crazy.
Then, November 2024 rolled around and he caught a 45-day sentence tied to those violations. And just when it seemed like it couldn't spiral more, December 2025 hit him with a 90-day sentence for ongoing issues, including repeated drug use, failing to report Dominican Republic arrests, and not completing required community service. The pattern was loud, and the court wasn't ignoring it anymore. Dude just kept fumbling every chance he got. Footage from his January 2026 surrender pulled in millions of views, non-stop replays everywhere. At this point, it painted a heavy picture. A guy who once had the Billboard charts on lock, now getting processed right back into federal custody like it was routine. For people who followed the 6ix9ine story from the very start, that image hit hard. And for Trippie Redd, it carried even more weight than most people realized.
Bro, you just keep doing it, bro. I don't know why you hate on me so much, bro. You lit, bro. You know what I mean? Your music is lit, bro. You signed to the same label, you still hate on me, you try to throw dirt on my name, you try to tell people not to work with me, bro. Man, bro, that's mad corny, bro. Nobody try to blackmail you, bro. Like, you act like a real female, bro.
But this moment meant way more than just another viral clip. Trippie Redd and 6ix9ine go way back, real history there. They made music together in 2017, ran in the same circles, and were even signed to the same label at one point. That bond shattered when 6ix9ine ordered an attack on Trippie Redd at a New York hotel lobby, something he later admitted to during his federal trial. After that, Trippie spent years publicly mocking 6ix9ine, replaying his court moments, breaking down his interviews, and bringing the incident up whenever the topic came up. Fast forward to now, and their lives couldn't look more different. Trippie Redd is still dropping music, still touring, still moving forward, while the contrast speaks loud all by itself. Meanwhile, 6ix9ine is sitting in a cell at MDC Brooklyn with no release expected until spring 2026. The surrender footage, the live stream, the jokes tossed around while federal agents waited, all of it is turned into the latest visual chapter of a beef that's been brewing for almost a full decade. That clip didn't just go viral for shock value. It landed heavy because of the history attached to it.
Seeing the jealousy coming, you don't gotta say the jealousy is loud. It's loud. Trippie got jealous. Why else come at me? We was friends. Why else? You tell me.
Well, not only were you friends, but you guys had commercial success.
Commercial success. So why hate on me?
Yeah, I don't get it.
You don't get it? I don't either.
Huh.
Out of nowhere, he just called me a...
To really understand why this moment hit so hard and why Trippie Redd's reaction to 6ix9ine being locked up carries so much weight, you gotta rewind the story. These two didn't start as enemies, not even close. They went from collaborators to full-on rivals, and that shift didn't happen overnight. You gotta go back to 2017, to studio sessions on Sunset Boulevard, to an Airbnb out in Venice Beach, to meetings at 888 Wilshire with Elliot Grange. Before everything collapsed, they were building something real together, momentum moving fast. It all kicked off with a track called Pose 1469, the collaboration that sparked it all.
Everybody, listen, apart Trippie Redd, there you go telling the truth again, there you go Stitch. All these rappers bad baby while she was underage. Come on, next thing. She knows it, they know it. But you know what? No, we like them. They kids.
The year was 2017, and the SoundCloud rap scene was exploding, pumping out new artists faster than anyone could keep up with. Out of that chaos came two young artists with loud styles, face tattoos, and wild energy who didn't know yet that their names would be tied together forever. First it was about the music, then the tension turned physical, and eventually it spiraled into one of hip-hop's longest and most bitter beefs. Trippie Redd, born Michael Lamar White, was already building serious buzz, dropping tracks that caught the underground's attention and spreading fast online. At the same time, 6ix9ine, born Daniel Hernandez, was out in New York grinding non-stop, chasing any shot he could get. He was shooting and editing his own music videos, hustling random gigs just to stack enough money for flights to Los Angeles. The goal was simple: land interviews, lock in collaborations, and get noticed by the right people. The connection between them came through Adam 22 and No Jumper, which at the time had become a major gatekeeper for the whole SoundCloud wave.
Gummo came out September, October. Y'all came up with the date, right? September, October 2017. Bro, if Gummo never, and you know Gummo's a Trippie Redd diss, right?
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
KB was his enforcer. KB was his shotty.
6ix9ine has told this story over and over in interviews, explaining how he flew to LA using money he made filming a video for a random guy at Home Depot. He said when he finally touched down, Adam 22 completely ghosted him, leaving him stranded and frustrated. That moment planted seeds that would later explode into something way bigger than music. It was Adam 22's guy Andrew, better known as Trippie Drew, who really lit the spark and put the idea in 6ix9ine's head. And that single suggestion flipped everything upside down. The pitch was simple but powerful. There was this artist named Trippie Redd going crazy on SoundCloud, numbers climbing fast, buzz getting louder by the day, and maybe 6ix9ine should slide into his DMs and cook something up. That same night, they linked up at Hitway Studios and recorded the track Pose 1469, a collab that would end up changing both their careers in a SoundCloud rap scene that was moving at lightning speed. The chemistry in the studio was instant, no forced vibes, just energy clicking right away. Trippie Redd was so confident in it that he wanted to shoot a video the very next day. 6ix9ine, who was completely broke at the time but wasn't about to admit that to anyone, agreed on one condition: Trippie would cover the cost for everything. They rolled out to the desert, where Trippie dropped a few $100s on an ATV setup, turning what was supposed to be a fun outing into a full-on music video shoot.
Because remember, me and Red is on the same label, so he was supposed to blow up before me. So they were putting all the money into him. And the fact that when Gummo took off, the streets went crazy. Like, they fell in love with Gummo, and like, to the label, I became the priority, and they benched Trippy, and they put me ahead, and it just felt so good because he talked so much.
6ix9ine tapped into the videography skills he'd been sharpening through all his earlier hustles, edited the entire video that same night, and dropped it the very next day. The move was fast, gritty, and raw, and neither of them knew yet how much that moment would change everything. That video went way harder than either of them ever expected. The response was instant and loud, numbers climbing fast, people replaying it nonstop, and the buzz reached the right ears quick. It caught the attention of Elliot Grange, son of Lucian Grange, and a major label executive who had already signed Trippie Redd. Elliot tapped in through mutual connections and requested a face-to-face meeting with 6ix9ine at his office at 888 Wilshire. And that meeting changed everything.
Yeah, I pled guilty to it.
Okay, so let's go.
So let's give the fans what. So like I said, I pled guilty to the shit. The nigga has a music video. I get the call. The nigga's here. I said, I bet I'm on my way. I think I explained the story on another, I think on Breakfast Club. Anyway, long story short, I follow him. He in a big sprint. I follow him. When I follow him, he stops in front of his hotel. Jump out. 50 niggas looking around like, what's up? So, like, yo, what's poppin'? What's poppin'? Peace up, yo, what's poppin'?
By July or August of 2017, 6ix9ine officially signed with Elliot Grange, landing on the exact same label as Trippie Redd at the time. From the outside, it looked like a straight-up win. Two rising artists from the same Soundcloud wave, proven chemistry, and now backed by real industry power. They didn't stop there either. After Pole's 1469, they followed it up with another collaboration called Oh We, which only locked in their commercial partnership even more. To everyone watching, it felt like the start of something solid and unstoppable. Two young artists with similar looks, face tattoos, wild hair colors, and that aggressive SoundCloud sound stacking momentum together. Industry insiders were watching closely, thinking this duo might really be the next wave. But beneath all that hype, tensions were already quietly building, something 6ix9ine would later admit himself. Jealousy started creeping in heavy between them. Same label, same lane, fighting for the same studio time, promo, and attention. As 6ix9ine's profile kept rising, the balance between them shifted, and the energy wasn't the same anymore. What started as a studio link-up on Sunset Boulevard was slowly turning into something way more toxic, and the warning signs were impossible to ignore.
It's four of us. It's four of us. Trippie's in the midst of 30 people. Remember, I pled guilty to this. This shit was set in court. Just rocked Trippie's grills out his mouth, like his grills flew 10 feet in the air. Word to my mom, his grills, that went through the revolving doors. He came in spinning and left spinning.
That creative partnership didn't fade out quietly, not at all. It blew up in full public view, the kind of internet-era spectacle that spreads fast and hits hard. What once looked like a solid alliance unraveled almost overnight, turning into a loud, messy back and forth that pulled everybody's attention in. The situation escalated into an all-out war of accusations, with each side firing shots online. The first major fracture happened when Trippie Redd went to social media and publicly accused 6ix9ine of serious past misconduct. The claim pointed back to 6ix9ine's 2015 legal case, which involved inappropriate conduct that resulted in probation, required registration, and mandatory counseling as part of the court's ruling. That moment changed everything. From that point on, there was no fixing the relationship, no quiet resolution, just public tension that kept getting uglier as time went on.
I get into the hotel, it's a talk about, I'm 9 Trey, blase blah. So I go to dap nigga up, and it's a next to him, bro. And it stole on me and hit me in my mouth. Because this is the only thing that happened to Trippie Redd, bro. The nigga hit me one time, bro, and then my niggas beat their ass.
The public statement was short, sharp, and ruthless. Trippie Redd didn't dance around it at all, posting, "I'm sorry bro, 1,400 don't promote files," and that single line landed like a hammer. The accusation hit 6ix9ine at his weakest spot, his past legal history, something that had followed him for years and kept getting brought up by critics and rivals alike. For Trippie to put that out there publicly, after their collaborations, and while they were still tied to the same label, made it sting even harder. That post drew a clear line in the sand. Whatever bond they once had was officially done. No coming back from that. 6ix9ine responded exactly how people expected, leaning fully into the loud, confrontational image he'd been building. He filmed himself sitting in his car, eating, talking straight to the camera, addressing Trippie's claims head-on with a mix of confusion, irritation, and straight-up aggression.
Yo, just punched me in my mouth. Just hit me. Fuck 6ix9ine. Bro, come on.
The back and forth was officially on, and the internet was watching every move. Everybody started asking the same question: what made things turn so nasty so fast? These were two artists who had just dropped successful collaborations, were signed to the same label, and looked perfectly lined up to build something major together. From the outside, it made zero sense how things went left almost overnight. 6ix9ine has been very clear about his explanation whenever the topic came up in later interviews. He blamed jealousy, saying that as his profile kept rising and label attention started shifting in his direction, the dynamic changed. According to him, Trippie Redd couldn't handle the competition and let it get personal. But 6ix9ine didn't stop at defending himself. He fired back with serious counter-accusations of his own, escalating the situation even further. He accused Trippie Redd of inappropriate behavior involving Pootie Pop, who was underage at the time. Both Trippie Redd and Bod Bobby publicly denied those claims. Later on, Bod Bobby acknowledged that a kiss had occurred while rejecting any further wrongdoing. That back and forth only made the feud messier and harder to contain.
What is the situation with you and 6ix9ine right now?
I honestly don't know. It's just the internet. They'll just keep bringing me up. That's all it is. We already had squash what we was talking about. You pulled up on me and we talked about that. He wasn't even on nothing I was on because, you know, I'm crazy, you feel me? So I was trying to fight. He wasn't trying to fight. He wanted to talk about it. He wanted to talk it out.
The accusations were flying in both directions non-stop, and it went way past regular rap beef. This wasn't about who had better bars or bigger streaming numbers anymore. Both sides were aiming straight at each other's reputations, trying to tear down credibility and character with the most serious claims possible. The situation had crossed into dangerous territory and there was no pulling it back. While all that chaos was unfolding, 6ix9ine's career was taking off at full speed. His single Gummo, which dropped in late 2017, exploded out of nowhere. He went from being an underground name people argued about online to a full-blown mainstream phenomenon almost overnight. What Trippie Redd may not have known at the time, and what 6ix9ine would later admit openly, was that the beat for Gummo had originally come from Trippie's camp. That detail added another deep layer to the fallout. 6ix9ine took a beat Trippie planned to use, flipped it into his biggest hit ever, and rode that wave straight into industry fame, all while publicly beefing with the same artist connected to it. That move made the betrayal feel even louder. That was a cold-blooded move, no doubt about it. The reference to KB and Gummo wasn't random at all. It was a clear subliminal shot aimed straight at Trippie Redd. That diss was baked right into the song and slipped under the radar for some listeners. But to those who knew the backstory, it was loud and intentional. The massive success of Gummo flipped the entire label dynamic upside down. Before that, Trippie Redd had been the priority artist, getting the promo push, the attention, and the resources. But once 6ix9ine went viral, everything shifted fast. The spotlight moved, the energy changed, and the balance of power was gone. The reversal of fortunes was complete, and the tension between them only got heavier from there. 6ix9ine had officially gone from being a background name on the label roster to the main priority, and that switch changed everything fast. While Trippie Redd found himself pushed to the side, the jealousy 6ix9ine always claimed started the beef suddenly looked more complicated. Now the roles were reversed. Trippie had a real reason to feel some type of way about being displaced, while 6ix9ine openly celebrated the power shift, rubbing it in with zero subtlety. But all the accusations, label drama, and industry politics were just the warm-up. What came next pushed the conflict way past online trolling and into real-life consequences. The tension exploded into violence, a moment that would later be laid out in federal court testimony for the entire world to hear. The infamous hotel attack took the beef to a level nobody could ignore. Up to that point, the Trippie Redd and 6ix9ine feud had already created years' worth of internet chaos. Allegations, stolen beats, label favoritism, non-stop character attacks from both sides. But in late 2017, the situation crossed a serious line, turning a war of words into an actual criminal matter handled in federal court. By then, 6ix9ine had aligned himself with the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods, a New York-based street gang that offered him protection and surrounded him with people willing to act on his behalf. That move changed the stakes completely and set off a chain reaction that would follow him for years. When 6ix9ine found out Trippie Redd was in New York shooting a music video, things escalated fast. According to court records and his own later interviews, he mobilized people around him, and the situation spilled into real life at a New York hotel. 6ix9ine has never denied involvement, and over time, he's openly talked about the incident, making it clear he played a role in setting it in motion. What stood out to a lot of people wasn't just the incident itself, but the way he spoke about it afterward. He described it publicly with a level of confidence that shocked listeners, showing little hesitation about what went down. The way he framed it made it obvious this wasn't a misunderstanding or a random clash. He also claimed the numbers were uneven in a strategic way. Trippie Redd was surrounded by a larger group connected to the video shoot, while 6ix9ine and his associates arrived with far fewer people. But the suddenness of the confrontation and the immediate escalation shifted the situation fast. The picture 6ix9ine later painted was meant to be humiliating and intimidating, using the moment to send a message rather than just settle a dispute. That incident officially pushed the feud past music and into consequences that would follow both artists for years. 6ix9ine later painted a wild picture of Trippie Redd getting spun through hotel doors like something straight out of a cartoon, a story that sounded exaggerated but was clearly meant to embarrass and belittle. Whether every detail happened exactly that way or not, one thing was undeniable. The incident was serious enough that it became part of real legal consequences. After the situation, Trippie Redd went live on Instagram and addressed it himself. He tried to downplay what happened, saying it wasn't as bad as people were making it sound while still admitting that something did go down. His version focused on brushing it off, keeping his image intact and not letting the moment define him. The gap between their two stories couldn't be wider. 6ix9ine described a full-on takedown, while Trippie framed it as a quick hit followed by his people stepping in. The truth likely sits somewhere in the middle, but the fact that 6ix9ine later pleaded guilty to ordering the attack as part of his federal cooperation makes one thing clear. The incident was serious enough to be included in racketeering charges, and that says everything. The hotel attack marked a point of no return for both of them, no question. Before that moment, the beef lived online. Accusations flying across social media, diss tracks dropping on streaming platforms, and interviews feeding the drama. But once that incident happened, everything shifted. The conflict became physical, officially documented, and eventually tied to real criminal consequences. Trippie Redd's explanation for why the situation popped off doesn't match 6ix9ine's version at all. Trippie pushed back on the jealousy narrative, offering a different take on how things unfolded. His account suggested a tense face-to-face where emotions flared, while portraying 6ix9ine as trying to cool things down, a version that completely clashes with 6ix9ine's later, more boastful retellings. Those contradictions say a lot about the feud itself. This whole conflict became a non-stop battle over the narrative. Who started it, who escalated it, and whose story people should believe. What isn't up for debate, though, is that real violence occurred, it was tied back to 6ix9ine, and it became part of the federal case that would later play a major role in sending him to prison. That hotel attack wasn't just another chapter in their beef, it became actual evidence in a federal racketeering case, and that changed everything. This is where the legal reckoning really started, and where the infamous snitch label would later come into play. The November 2018 federal indictment of Tekashi 6ix9ine marked a total collapse of the persona he had built from the ground up. The image he pushed, street credibility, gang ties, fearless energy, all of it came crashing down at once. The artist who had openly aligned himself with the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods, bragged about ordering attacks, and flaunted those connections in music videos was suddenly facing the real possibility of spending the rest of his life behind federal walls. The charges were serious and wide-ranging. Prosecutors hit him with racketeering conspiracy, firearms offenses, armed robbery, and drug trafficking charges. They alleged that 6ix9ine didn't just hang around 9 Trey, but actively funded operations, directed violent acts, and took part in criminal activity that went far beyond music. He was arrested alongside 5 associates and denied bail due to flight risk and public safety concerns. The federal case against him was described as overwhelming, airtight, and devastating. Facing a potential life sentence with no clear exit, the walls were closing in fast, and the pressure was unlike anything he'd ever faced before. He made a choice that would define his name just as much as the rainbow hair or the aggressive music ever did. In September 2019, 6ix9ine flipped the script completely and started cooperating with federal prosecutors, a move that changed his career forever. He took the stand and testified against his former 9 Trey associates, laying everything out in open court. He didn't hold back. He identified members by name, broke down the group structure step by step, and explained how things operated behind the scenes. He walked prosecutors through criminal activity in detail, offering the kind of insider information only someone deeply involved could provide. And when it came to the Trippie Redd situation, he admitted under oath to ordering the hotel attack on his former collaborator. That moment tied the music beef directly into federal testimony, making it official and undeniable. The statements were thorough, damaging, and impossible to ignore. That's where the snitch label was cemented, right there in the courtroom. He traded everything he knew for a chance at freedom, and legally, the strategy worked. Instead of facing life in prison, 6ix9ine received a 24-month sentence with 13 months already served, plus 5 years of supervised release and a $35,000 fine. The legal win came at a massive cost to his reputation, and that shadow never left. 6ix9ine was released early to home confinement in April 2020, officially due to asthma concerns and the wider COVID-19 situation. But for Trippie Redd, the trial itself already felt like a form of vindication. The same guy who had ordered an attack on him, mocked him online, took his beat, and tried to embarrass him publicly was now standing in court cooperating with federal authorities. That move shattered the street image code both artists had once claimed to stand on. In that world, cooperation is the ultimate violation, and everyone knew it. Trippie's response was to straight up clown 6ix9ine, publicly mocking his courtroom behavior, replaying clips, doing impressions, and brushing him off as a joke. The power dynamic had flipped in a way nobody could have predicted back in that Hollywood studio when they recorded Polls 1469. 6ix9ine had reached higher commercial peaks, dominated headlines, and even orchestrated real-world harm, but it all came crashing down. Now, instead of being feared, he was labeled a federal cooperator. In the years after prison, 6ix9ine has tried to rebuild his career while carrying a stain that never fades. Meanwhile, Trippie Redd stayed active, kept releasing music, and watched the fallout from a distance as the consequences played out loud. His music has still managed to pull attention, but the level of dominance he once had is clearly gone now. The bigger issue hasn't even been the charts. It's been the non-stop legal trouble piling up behind the scenes. The violations that led to his January 2026 incarceration paint a clear picture of someone who either couldn't or wouldn't follow the rules of supervised release. And there was the October 2023 arrest in the Dominican Republic tied to an altercation involving music producers. Then came the January 2024 arrest for violating a restraining order connected to a domestic violence case. Add in failed drug tests, unauthorized travel, and repeated probation issues, and the pattern became impossible to ignore. Each incident stacked onto a record showing someone given extreme leniency by the federal system, only to keep wasting it. Judge Paul Engelmeyer, who oversaw 6ix9ine's case, didn't hide his frustration at all. He summed it up bluntly, saying the defendant kept blowing it despite being handed multiple chances to get things together. The 3-month sentence issued in December 2025, which 6ix9ine began serving on January 6, 2026, was the result of years of non-compliance finally catching up. That's why the footage of him surrendering to federal custody, live-streamed with Aiden Ross, hit so hard. It wasn't just a moment, it was the consequences playing out in real time. Playing Akon locked up while federal agents processed him perfectly summed up the chaos of his entire career. This was an artist turning his own incarceration into content, performing for the camera even as he was being taken into custody. He stayed locked into that provocateur persona till the very end. The same energy that brought him fame also dragging him right back to prison. For Trippie Redd, watching this unfold had to hit different. The man who ordered an attack on him was back in federal custody, serving time for violating the same cooperation deal that branded him a snitch in the first place. That alone adds a heavy layer to everything. What started in a Hollywood studio spiraled into a New York hotel lobby and eventually exploded inside a federal courtroom. Now it's entered another chapter with 6ix9ine behind bars and Trippie free, watching it all from a distance. And this beef, it never really ended. There's been no public peace, no apologies, no closure. 6ix9ine still brings Trippie up in streams and interviews, and Trippie still brushes him off whenever his name comes up. The tension stays alive, even with bars separating them. That footage of 6ix9ine surrendering keeps circulating, turning into yet another artifact in a conflict that's fed hip-hop conversations for years. What started as two young artists chasing a Soundcloud dream has evolved into a full-blown case study on how fast collaboration can rot into animosity. Fame didn't calm anything down. It amplified every flaw, every decision, and every bad move. As of January 2026, 6ix9ine sits inside MDC Brooklyn, scheduled to serve his sentence through early spring. Trippie Redd, meanwhile, keeps his career moving with no bars holding him back. The footage keeps replaying, the tension stays alive, and this story still doesn't feel finished. So here's the real question. Was that clip just Trippie trolling for attention, or was it a calculated shot aimed straight at 6ix9ine in a beef that never truly died? Drop a comment and let me know what you think about the situation. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Click the next card on your screen, and I'll catch you on the next one.